Hi guys, we're going to talk about how to graph using the TI nspire, how to graph a scatter plot of some data, and also how to do linear regression and see a trend line or a line of best fit. Start by turning it on right there, and whatever data you have, we're going to start fresh. So we're going to hit the doc button right here, hit doc, one file, and we're going to do a new document, and do not save. We don't want anything on there. So you might have grabbed a calculator that was someone else's from the class. Make sure that you clear it out, and we'll start fresh. All right, so in order to put some data into our TI nspire so that we can make a scatter plot out of it and do linear regression, we're going to start with number 4. And number 4, this is a sheet, like Google Sheet or Microsoft Excel is what I think, where you can input data. Arrow up to the top of column A, and we're going to call column A X, our X column for our X coordinates, and hit enter. Then go to column B and label it Y for our Y coordinates, hit enter. So we're going to have some X and Y coordinates for some data, and we're going to store that here. Okay, we're going to use a problem right off of your work today. And the X coordinates, we're going to type 1 as the first X coordinate, hit enter and move down. 3, enter. 5, enter. 7, enter. 9, enter. There's a bit of a pattern in your X coordinates there. Now we'll arrow up and do our Y coordinates. 2.1, enter. 3.1, enter. 4.0, enter. 5.2, enter. And 5.9, enter. So anytime you want to put in data, your data can be anything that you're relating. If you're in functions, you can be relating any two variables. In this case, it's just X and Y. And then I can do linear regression on these. So I move over to the first open cell and hit menu. When I get menu, I get my options. Things I can do for the sheet. I'm going to pick 4, statistics. And under statistics, we're going to do 1, stat calculations. And here are all the options for stat calculations and a couple options for linear regression. And we're going to choose number 3, the slope intercept, or the mx plus b form. It's our favorite. So hit 3. So here we are doing linear regression in mx plus b form. It's going to ask you what are your x's and what are your y's, what do you want to put in there. So I'm going to say arrow over, and I can find that there's the x's. Arrow down, arrow to the right. Do that again, arrow to the right. Come down, I'm going to say use the y's as the y's. And hit enter at this point. And it's already performed the linear regression here on the screen. In the sheets, it throws it in there in columns D and E. As we arrow down, we can see this is linear regression in the mx plus b format. This is the M, so has a positive correlation with a rate of change of around 0.485. And this next one is the B. So we have a y-intercept of approximately 1.635. And then we have our R squared and our R factor. And the closer these numbers are to 1, the more accurate this linear regression fits the data. So this one fits it fairly close. It's almost 1. So this first page, we were able to put in data and do linear regression on the sheet. The next thing I'll want you to do, hit Control plus, and we'll get another page. And here's a neat option. We can go and actually look at our data on just a graph. This is another option, so hit number 2 for graph. So we have our graphing calculator, obviously can put graphs on here. And if I go to menu, one thing I can do right here is I can come down and say I want to graph entry, a scatter plot. So maybe you want to look at a scatter plot on here, so hit 5. And for my scatter plot, I want to use, for the x's, we're going to say use the x's. Hit tab, move down, and use the y for the y values of our scatter plot, and hit enter. And in quadrant 1, there's all the x and y coordinates for this particular problem. and they're all in quadrant 1. So something nice I can do is I can hit Menu and go to number 4 to zoom my window. You can zoom for a box and out. There's a lot of options here. The easiest thing is just arrow down to zoom fit, and it only puts in your window the data that you have. So it's zoomed in on just the scatter plot. And now you can see through this scatter plot there is definitely positive correlation in this data. We would say that's strongly positively correlated. As X increases, Y is increasing. And we could even put a trend line or a line of best fit in there. So if I arrow back, if I go back to this control back, I can see I could put this line, MX plus B, with 0.485 as a slope and 1.635 as a y-intercept on this. There's one way of doing it I know is we hit Menu, go back to 3, Graph Entry, and we want to enter number 2. We want to put an equation of number 1, a line. And what kind of line? I don't like standard form. I like slope-intercept form. That's what it gave us. So we're going to choose 1. And there's the skeleton of equation 1. It was like I've already forgot, so I'll hit Control over 0.485 and 1.635. Come back. So 0.485 is the slope. And tab over, and 1.635, I believe, was the y-intercept. Hit Enter. And that would be a trend line for that data, and it fits the data very well. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. Let's hit another page now. We'll Control Doc, add another page. I want to show you if we go down and look at data through number 4, data and statistics, option 5, data and statistics. This is another neat way. So it's thrown this data, the data that we've put in. This is the data from right here. This is this data here on this data and statistics sheet, but it needs something for the X and something for a Y. It says click to add a variable. And you can arrow down there or scroll over there. This thing bothers me, so I just like to hit Menu and go to Plot Properties. And right here I can add X and add Y variables. So I'm going to start by adding an X variable. On the X, we want the X. It's going to arrange those now. So okay, these are arranged 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, like we had for X values. But it doesn't know where they need on the Y. It doesn't know how high to put these. So if we tell the Y value, the Y variable, let's go back to Menu, Plot Properties, and number 8 is add a Y variable. And the Y variable, we want the Y. So there is the scatter plot. Another way. It's an awesome way to look at data through a scatter plot. Now again, we can see it's positively correlated. If you hit Menu, you can analyze this, number 4, and right there, regression. We can analyze it through regression, number 6. And we can show linear regression, number 1. And if you just hit it, it throws it right in there. Just like you saw on the other page, it shows you your slope and your y-intercept for this trend line, this line of best fit. So a couple different ways looking at data. Once you put the data into this calculator, it can do a lot. And there's a lot more than what I showed you here, but that's a good start. Okay, thank you and good luck.